The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Olayemi Kadoso, says that the Apex Bank will be asking deposit money banks to increase their capital base in order to service the $1 trillion economy projected by the president, Bola Tinubu. He stated that his administration has set a goal of achieving a GDP of $1 trillion over the next 7 years. And joining me live to talk about these is Professor of Economics at the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Professor Sheriffdeen Tella. Good morning. Glad to have you join me.
Good morning.
Now,
nice
Prof,
to be here.
Prof, what are your thoughts on the economic plans by the CBN governor?
Well, I think it is appropriate, for the central bank to ask the banks to recapitalize, because the last time they did it was 2004, 2005, which was a long time. And you will see that although the economy is not performing well, but if you are going to brace up for the expected development, there's need for the banks actually to recapitalize. And I think that the central bank is seriously in order. We know that the banks are making huge profits, which you cannot account for now. So it's not as if they will not be able to meet up. Where they will not be able to meet up, they can merge as they did during the time that it was done in 2004.
Okay, I'm going to come to that, Prof.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to come to banks who may be merging. But before then, Prof, some people are asking what were the achievements within the financial sector, for instance, of the last recapitalization we had. Some persons have said the Naira has been devalued by close to 100% since 2008 when we had the last recapitalization. If you recall, the Naira was about 116 Naira to a dollar around January of 2008.
Actually, the fact that the Naira has depreciated badly also means that the recapitalization that they had at that time has greatly reduced. So we also have inflation, of course, both of them causing a serious reduction in the value of the capitalization that they had before. When they had it that time, it was the banks were quite strong that when there was an economic crisis at the initial stage, that was caused by from the United States, it didn't affect our banks because they were quite strong at that time. And they were also, because of the strength of their capitalization at that time, they were able to go international. Because when the banks are localized here, they may not be doing well so much. But because of the fact that they were capitalized, it was possible for them to extend their services beyond the shores of Nigeria. So capitalization actually is important for them, because if they don't have strong base, then they cannot compete effectively with the rest of the banks in Africa and the world.
Now, looking at this increase in capital base for banks, some banks are likely to go into extinction, isn't it, Prof?
Well, they may in name, but they could merge with others, so it may not go totally as you think. That's what capitalization brings to any business at all. When you say the insurance did their own and they have to merge, those who are unable to merge, of course, will go into extinction. But likely there will be people banks that will merge together, and then they will now have either change your name or they can retain the name. UBA that time merged, but it remains UBA. So definitely, when there is capitalization, depending on the size of the capitalization that we are talking about, basically some of them may be able to meet up. Those who are not unable to meet up will then have to merge.
Okay, let's look at certain banks that cater to certain needs. For instance, let's look at the medium and small banks who cater to customers at that level. How does this economic plan affect them?
You see, the last one that was did by Professor Soludo at that time did not take cognizance of the smaller banks. But I think that some lessons will have been learned there, so that this time around, the central bank bringing about capitalization will be able to categorize the banks into different schedules, so that we can have the small ones, we can have the medium down one, we can have large one. So capitalization will be based on the size of the banks. I think that's what they will do, because the other one actually made some banks to go under, and it didn't take care of the small and medium scale. But this one, I think that they will have learned some lessons from that and be able to do the right thing now.
Okay, let's look at the positives. What are the macroeconomic advantages of these exercise?
Yeah, when the banks are capitalized, when it makes them strong, they'll be able to mobilize funds, both locally and internationally, to support industries that will be growing, either in the manufacturing sector or even the service sector. So the strength of the capital that they have will be the framework or the bedrock for ability of them to be able to finance big and small projects, in any part of the country, and be able to allow them to mobilize funds beyond the Nigerian environment. So they can, when they are strong, they can float bonds outside the country. Some of them have been doing that, which means that the people believe in them. And believing in them will simply mean that looking at their capital, that these banks are quite strong enough to. So there are a lot of advantages even for the Nigerian economy and for the Nigerian private sector.
Prof, what signal do you think these may likely send to foreign investors?
When you have strong banks, definitely the foreign investor will know that it will be easy for them to come in and mobilize domestic funds for their development. Sometimes they may not want to move funds from abroad, but when they know that they have strong banks or the strong banking system here, definitely it will encourage them to come in, because all they want is that they cannot bring all the money that they need. They will still need money here. And so when you have strong financial system, strong banks, it will encourage them to come in.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Professor of Economics, Olabisi, Onabanjo University, Sheriffdeen, Tella. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.